Hi folks, and this is our cottage. It's a snug little, just over 800 square foot unit. We have 3 bedrooms, full bathroom, kitchen, dining room, living room, and a wood stove for heat. And when it's minus 30 outside and the wind's blowing, it's usually warmer in the cottage than it is in our old farmhouse. And as you can see on the roof of the shed there, you'll see a couple of solar panels. We don't have electricity. Electricity is a couple miles away up the lake, and when this cottage was built, it was built in mind for electricity. So the builder installed a 200 amp panel, and the cottage is fully wired, professionally done, not a la Joe handyman. So it was easy for me to install a solar system. Now we have 120, 240. We have a drilled well with a submersible pump in it, 240 volt submersible pump, and all works well. My wife uses a coffee maker, a toaster, hair dryer. And we're cautious with electricity usage. We changed all the bulbs from incandescent to compact fluorescent and LED. But this will be our 5th summer with solar, and it's more than paid for itself now with savings and not having a hydro bill. And it works really, really well. So let's go take a look inside the shed and we'll show you the rest of the solar system. And as we walk to the shed, there's some snow, a little reminder of last winter. It's hard to believe on a day like today that it could still be there, but in the bush, underneath the balsams and the spruce and the cedars, there's still a bit of snow here and there. And here are our 2 solar panels. Each panel is a 24 volt, 245 watt unit. Now those panels aren't facing directly south. The way our shed is facing, the panels are actually facing closer to south-southeast, but they more than meet our needs. So the panels take the energy from the sun, convert it into DC electricity, and it's sent into the charge controller, which forwards it onto the batteries, charges the batteries, and all our power comes out of the batteries. And this is our inverter, charge controller, and panel going over to the cottage. So right now the batteries are fully charged actually. It's showing 30.1 volts. It's a 24 volt system. And 1.9 amps with a pulse width modulated charge of about 40%. Really 59 watts. We got here yesterday, and of course the batteries, well, they hadn't been used in a long time, so everything was fully charged, and we haven't used a lot today. We've used some water, so the pump's kicked in a few times, toaster and a coffee maker, but with a little bit of sun, it's back to full charge. So here you can see this is the charge control. That controls everything to do with what comes in from the panels to the battery. And this is the breaker, a 30 amp breaker for the 24 volts DC coming in from the panels. Comes over to the charge controller, comes out of the charge controller into the inverter, and then is fed down to the batteries. And out of the batteries and the charge controller comes our AC supply, 2 legs of 120, into this panel here. And you can see the breaker set up for the cottage. And then we have an underground feed going over to the cottage. Our batteries are down here. We have 4 L16 6 volt, I believe they're 420 amp hour batteries, just the same as you'd see in a, really almost like the ones you'd see in a golf cart or a floor scrubbing machine or any number of locations. Now really, there's very, very little maintenance, but you'll see there's some that's due here right now in the worst way. We can see that is a corroded terminal. But if we look over here, oh my goodness, it looks like it's growing cauliflower. And that happened over the winter because I cleaned them last fall. So I will clean them again. But the only other thing we have to do is we do have a generator, and then we run the generator 4 times a year to equalize the batteries. A vehicle battery like this takes lots of bouncing around, and the electrolyte and any precipitates that fall out of it get shaken up and stirred up, and nothing settles on the plates, and it's a healthy environment for a lead-acid battery. These batteries really don't move whatsoever, and so what happens is the precipitate will fall out of the electrolyte, and it can build up on the plates. So we run what's called an equalizing charge. So the generator puts in a super huge charge into here, high voltage, and it literally boils the electrolyte. And in doing so, it, in theory, knocks anything off the plate, stirs everything up, and equalizes the capacity of the batteries and the cells from top to bottom. So this will be our 5th year for the batteries, and at this point we haven't seen any diminish in power or service. And I understood when I bought them from the gentleman that if we got 7 years out of them, we'd be doing well, and he's heard of people getting 10 years. Well, of course, I'm aiming for the 10 years, being a little frugal. So I'm going to get some baking soda and some water. I'll disconnect these batteries, and I will clean up those terminals because that's looking pretty poor.